self-love. So today is about hiring interior designers. And interestingly, we got an email that was actually took that literally. Yeah, because we titled our e-blast "Hiring Interior Designers at CSL Kauai" this Sunday, and so we thought that was really cute. And we wrote her back and said it was no, this was just a title of our talk. And she was really good about it. She was like, "Wow." So, which brings me, I don't know who she was, but obviously she's an interior designer, and let's just know she gets lots of work, okay? So I'm going to just get the elephant out of the room, in the room or whatever, out of me right now, okay? And it's actually not an elephant, it's a cat. And as some of you know, our dear Prince Krishna passed this week. And I just want to thank everybody for their prayers and their love. And he's sitting right on my shoulder right now, and he wants to run around and just play. And so if you feel him brushing against your feet, just tell him you love him. You don't even have to tell him that. He already knows. So I'm going to let him guide my talk today as he Giselles around the room. Okay. So I want to start with a quote by Ernest Holmes, my favorite man. Well, other than you. Other than you and Dr. Joe. Okay. Okay, so we're hiring interior designers, literally. And Ernest Holmes wrote, "Spirit makes things out of itself through some inner action upon itself. This inner act must, of course, be an act of consciousness, of self-perception, of self-knowingness. What God knows is. This has been called the Word of God and the self-contemplation of God." So we are all interior designers because, as we know, to learn how to think is to learn how to live. And my question today to all of us is, would we hire ourselves? Would we hire ourselves as an interior designer? Where are we in consciousness? Because as we think, we are. And Greg Braden, in his book, Human by Design, I don't know if any of you have read it, but he says, there's new DNA evidence suggests that we are the result of an intentional act of creation that has imbued us with extraordinary abilities of intuition, compassion, empathy, love, and self-healing. And he goes on to write, the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and believe define our life. So what stories are we telling ourselves about ourselves? I just got finished doing 21 days of self-love, which I know is the most important thing. Yeah, the most important thing, and is our whole ministry is about us all coming to that place of self-love. And there's plenty of stories I know I've told myself over the ages through the past that might have been true at the time, or I thought they were true and believed them, so my life out pictured that way. But I got the opportunity to change those stories. And I think sometimes we feel like we can't change them. We can't change them in the past, but we can change them right here and right now and live a new story. And this planet is asking us, as Greg Braden says in this book, to live a new story, because there's a new planet emerging right now. And it's responding to the stories we give it. And because we are a breathing and living organism on this planet, and it's breathing through us, and we're all one, right? So what I know is that he says that we are placed here by an intentional act of creation. And Ernest Holmes says the same thing. He says, we were left here alone to discover ourselves. I don't know who left us here alone or created us with this intentional act, or I don't know why, but I don't really care about that part of it, because that doesn't really matter. What matters, if I try to spend my whole time figuring that out, I'm going to lose the big chances that I have right now to be that intentional creator. And I want to let you know that losing Prince Krishna was an interesting thing because I feel like he gathered all my grief together that I've had from all my losses. Every loss from my mother to my father to my friends, and everything through COVID-19, and brought it all together in this immense, grieving process that I have never, ever felt in my whole life. It was, amazing. It wasn't easy. And it isn't easy. But what I know, as he probably turned that on. He hates cell phones, by the way. I know. One of the things he hated was cell phones. He would lay on top of mine. If I ever, was looking at it, he'd be like, pay attention to me. It's okay. All right, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm trying to think where I am. Okay, I was talking about grief. So, but what I know I get to do with that grief is I get to decide how I want to use it. I get to decide how I want to think about this. I get to decide how I want to perceive the whole thing about Krishna, about my life in every single solitary moment. I get to make it up. We have a friend, a colleague that he doesn't preach, he teaches in big organizations all over the world, and his program's called It's All Made Up. And it is all made up. We're making it up. It is done unto us, we believe. And I know that sometimes we look at the appearance and we start to create from there, but we get the opportunity to give up the old story, come within, and create a new story and create how we're going to perceive our lives and how we're going to create from that place. And I decided that during this process. I totally decided it because I totally saw that it was calling me to do that. If I was to be healed, I needed to create a new story about this and really rely on the power and presence of spirit, power and presence of love that was so amazingly sung about and prayed about today, and allow it to move through me. And I have my tears, and I've had plenty of tears and sobbing and screaming and all of that stuff. But what I know is that isn't really going to do me any good. It's not going to do the people we lost any good. It's a natural part of grieving, and we have to go through it. But there comes a time for me that I can still do that and still be so grateful and to still perceive it in a different way and start realizing that he's right here, he's on my shoulder, he's running around this room, he's never going to leave me. And I get to create that story. I get to talk about it to myself in that way and therefore create it because my word has power. It is done unto me as I believe. And this is for everything in our life, every single solitary thing in our life. So Dr. Joe Dispenza, you know how much I love him. Sorry, honey. Okay. He talks about disease, and he talks about how people that have these spontaneous healings and people that he works with, how they can pinpoint the moment that the emotion took hold of them and was frozen there. Whatever it was, some traumatic event they had in their lives. And the process of healing was to work through that emotion and turn it around. Because what happens in our bodies is that it gets lodged there and it attaches itself because it's supposed to be released and processed and everything. That's why the releasing and the processing and all that part of it is so important. But if we don't, it just gets lodged there, and it usually will cause some kind of dis-ease. So and then I'm thinking of Anita Marjani, who I saw online yesterday. She has a new book, by the way. She said, remember when her book, maybe you didn't read it, but now I'm not even remembering the name. What's the name of her book? The first one. What? Dying to Be Me, thank you. That she went over to the other side, and her whole cleansing was about her love with her father and how she was able to go through this forgiveness process, all the stuff that she had held in for so long and was running rampage through her body. And in that moment, she was able to release it all and come back to us. And she said we don't have to wait to go to the other side to do that. We can do it right now. And that's what I'm saying today to myself and to all of you, that we are interior designers and we are in charge. We are we said it before, the commander-in-chief of our bodies. And when we let God, that power and presence work through us, that love, it holds us up through anything that we could ever go through. And yeah, and it's not about bypassing, like people say, oh, you're bypassing your feelings and blah, blah. No, you're not bypassing your feelings. But when you cry, it's a different cry. I kept crying because I kept feeling Krishna on my shoulder. You know, I used to like to hold him like this with his towel and stuff. And I kept feeling him there, and all of a sudden tears would come to my eyes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start sobbing now. I better not. But then I was like, why? Why? Those tears are good. They're good tears. They mean love. They say that grief is, grief is love with nowhere to go. But how could love have nowhere to go? It's always going and it's always moving. So the point is that we have to just let it go. Let the love go. Let it go. Don't box it in. Let it go. And that I realized too that all the turning points in my life, all of them had to do with self-love, and it wasn't always popular. People looked at you and said, why are you doing that? It's not responsible, blah, 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 blah. We were talking about this in class the other night, that, we were like the little devil in the middle of all the angels or something, and all that was we were just different, you know the Emerson quote about being a nonconformist. We have to follow our heart. We have to design our lives in our own way. We don't have to do anything. I have to design my life in my own way and realize that I'm in charge. I'm in charge. And I can cry and rant and rave and do all of that and try to make things different than what they are. But the only way they're going to become different is by the way I choose to look at them. And I'm working on that right now. So Greg Braden said, the greatest crisis we have during these times is the crisis of thinking. A crisis of thinking. How can we make room for the new world that is emerging if we are clinging to an old way of thinking? So I don't want to think about old way of thinking. I don't want to think of an old way of thinking about relationships or death or any of those things. I want to be open to a new way of thinking. And every day I tell myself, Ernest Holmes used to say, oh no, it was Raymond Charles Barker who said, tell yourself you're happy. I am happy when you're not happy. But you're telling yourself the truth because in the deep of you, you are happy. There's a part of you within, deep, 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 deep beyond all the outside conditions that is joy, that is love, because that's what life is. And so I've been telling myself that I am healed. I might not feel totally healed right now, but I am healed. And because I say that to myself over and over and allow myself to feel that feeling, then everything has to show up to assist me. And one of the biggest assistance I know I've gotten has been all the love that I feel from all of you. And when Patrick announced it on Facebook yesterday, I mean, the amount of love that poured through was like, it was so healing. So if I leave you with anything, just remember, take it into your meditation anyway, that you are in charge of how you perceive everything. And how you perceive it means everything. And you can change your life by that. I know it. And I know we are meant to be here, to be happy, to be loved, to be eternal. And that's what I'm sticking to. And I'm writing a new story that this earth needs so much, and we all need a new story. So I look forward to just hearing about your stories and how they're growing and how you're evolving, because that's what we're doing. So mahalo for your love, mahalo for everything. I am so grateful. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.